Hey guys, welcome to Unit 4, Lesson 6. Our topic today is applications of quadratic equations and inequalities. So pause the video and try the do now on your own. The do now says a tennis ball is hit into the air. The height of the ball in feet at a time in at time t in seconds is modeled by this equation. Determine the interval of time when the height of the ball is greater than or equal to 52 feet. So we're given an equation. This is like the minute I look at this equation, I see it's t square. So and it's going to be a parabola. My leading coefficient is negative, so it's going to be something like this, right? And it's a tennis ball, so like if I hit the tennis ball here, it went up and touched the ground right here, right? So it's like an upside down parabola. Now it says I want to find the time interval when the height of the ball is greater than or equal to 52. So if this was my axis, I want the time to be, and wherever that 52 is, not necessary. So I want to find that interval where the height is above 52. So basically, if I was to shade it, it would be this. I want to find this time because this is t and this is my height h of t. So this is what it is saying on your picture. So now let's try to do this. I'm going to write my equation, which is negative 6t squared, or my function, but here it says greater than or equal to, so that means it's going to be an inequality 52. Now again, this is a quadratic. How do we solve quadratics? By setting them equal to 0. I'm going to change my inequality to an equal sign and move the 52 over. What would I get? Subtract 52 on both sides. I get negative 48 equal to 0. You always look for your GCF and always make sure that your leading coefficient, which is t squared, should be positive. What's a GCF of 16, 64, and 48? It is negative 16. I'm going to factor out and I'm left with t squared minus 4t minus 3 equal to 0. You can choose to divide by negative 16 on both sides, right? If there was a variable attached to 16, don't do that because you'll end up losing a solution. So this cancels and I'm left with t squared minus 4t minus 3 equal to 0. Now identify the structure. There are three terms. How do you factor three terms? By the AM method. My leading coefficient is 1, so I need two numbers that add to negative 4 multiplied to negative. It should be positive 3. My bad. This had to be positive because I factored out negative 16, so this was positive 3. So this would be what? T minus 3 and t minus 1. So basically, if I set them equal to make my t chart, and then t minus 3 equal to 0, t is equal to 3, add 3 on both sides, t minus 1 equal to 0, add 1 on both sides, t is equal to 1. So basically it's going to be between 1 and 3 seconds, right? If you weren't sure, we draw the number line. That's what we did for a previous lesson also. We use those two numbers. It's going to be fill circles because it's greater than or equal to, and you pick a test point from each of these categories. So pick a number that's less than 1. I'll pick 0. So and you always go back to your original equation. I'm going to check in this equation. So if I substitute in 0, I get 4 on the left side. And is 4 greater than 52? That's false. So this would not be here. So it's most likely is going to be on the inside. Now substitute, pick a number in this interval. Between 1 and 3, 2 would be a good number. So I'm going to substitute 2 for t. I get 68 on the left side, greater than or equal to 52. True. So that's true. So it means it's going to be in here, which we already kind of concluded. And check the last one also. So if I substitute in test 4, I'll pick what? 4 in here. So if I substitute 4 in this equation, so it would be what do I get? I get 4 is greater than, no, that's false, so it's not going to be here. So I want to write my final answer as the interval, it's 1 comma 3. So any time between 1 to 3 seconds, both included, your height of the ball will be greater than or equal to 52. So we're doing the same idea. We always solve the quadratic the same way, but we need to set them up using whether an inequality or an equal sign depending on the question. I want you to try pause the video for example 1 also, because they're very similar questions, and try to do it. So example 1 says a model rocket is launched straight upward. The solid fuel propellant pushed the rocket off the ground at an initial velocity of 200 feet per second, and the formula is given to you. So you really don't have to worry about what to come up with the equation. This models the path of the rocket. So again, this is a quadratic, so it will follow a parabolic path. Your leading coefficient is negative, so your rocket would sometime it'll go up and then it'll go down, right? Some kind of parabola. So it's asking when will the rocket reach the height of 336? So it means what? When will the equation of the rocket, which is negative 16t square plus 200t, is going to be equal to, because I'm not asking you more than or less than, I'm just saying when it's going to be exactly 336. So I am going to solve it. Again, it's a quadratic. Subtract 336 on both sides. What do I get? It's negative 16t square plus 200t minus 336 equals 0. Again, always factor your GCF. Is there a GCF? 8 is common in both of them, and you want to keep the leading term positive. So I'm going to factor out negative 8 instead of 8. There's no t common. T, the first two terms has t, but the third one does not. So please do not factor out the t. And I'm left with 2t square minus 25t plus 42 equals 0. I can divide by negative 8, and that would be what? This just is equal to 0. So that's the whole idea. This cancels out. Now I want to factor this. Again, how many terms are there? 3 terms, right? How do you factor? The leading coefficient is not 1, so it's going to be AC method. So I need 2 numbers that multiply to positive 84 and add to negative 25. They are negative 21 and negative 4. So you're basically splitting this middle term into those 2 factors. Negative 21t minus 4t plus 42. I just split that. You're not changing the questions. I do see that some of us are still a little confused with the AC method, but that's what you do. So this was the AC method, 3 terms, and the question we did for do now was AM method. So if you're confused, please go back and practice them again and again. Anyways, back to this. Now you have 4 terms. What do? You pair them up or group them and then do factor by grouping. What's the GCF of the first way? Just t. So I'm left with 2t minus 21. Bring down this sign. Minus, again the GCF is 2. You should be left with 2t minus 21, and you can check. It's the same. If you distribute it, you should end up with this thing. So again, you have 2 terms. What's a GCF? 2t minus 21, and then you're left with t minus 2. Now make a t chart, and now I can't, so this would be what? 2t minus 21 is equal to 0. So t will be what? 21 over 2. I added 21 and divided 2. Same thing, t is equal minus 2 equal to 0. Add 2, and I have t equals 2. So you have 2 times when the height would be 336. And kind of think about it. If I had a rocket and it just went up, right? There could be 2 points where the height is 336. Your y coordinate is 336. I wanted to find my corresponding x coordinate. So at 2 seconds, and 21 over 2 is 10.5 seconds. So those are the 2 times when your height could be exactly 336. So let's write that down. It's a little tight here for me. I'm just going to zoom in so I can write here. At 2 seconds and 10.5 seconds, the rocket has a height of always answer your question height of 336 feet because it'll make you understand the question better. Okay, so now let's start with part B. At what time will the rocket reach the ground? So think about it. If this was your rocket, when it will reach the ground, I need to know this point. When I want to find this point, I know one of the coordinates. This is the x-intercept. My y is always going to be 0. So I want to find my x. So what does that mean? That my y, or h of t, it should be h of t here, and we're just missing that t in here. So if you want to go back and put that in, h of t, that would be 0. So it's going to be 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 200t. I'm going to factor it. What can I factor? I can factor out the 8 out, negative 8 actually, negative 8t, and I'm left with 2t minus 25. Now be careful. I cannot divide by this t here because otherwise I will lose my solutions. So I will make a t chart here. So negative 8t, I can't factor them further. That's why, so t is equal to 0. And if I do this, 2t minus 25 equals 0, add 25, I get 2t equals 25, t is equal to 25 over 2, which is 12.5 seconds. Okay, now going back to the picture. At 0, when we launch the rocket, that's 0, right? That's 0, 0. So I really don't need this. I don't need this. This is my point. After 12.5 seconds, it will reach the ground because the first point we have to ignore. We're not asking when will it be 0, right? We're asking when will it reach after launching it, how long till it actually hits the ground. So the rocket, let's write this down. The rocket will take 12.5 seconds to reach the ground. I hope that helps. If you're confused with any of these questions, guys, please ask your teachers, email them. Okay, again, for the next one, I'm gonna actually ask you to pause the video and try the question on your own. Example 2, it says Mr. Jelly is in charge of the spring musical this year. The revenue or generated can be determined by the function r of t, and the functions given, where t represents the price of the ticket. The product cost or c of the musical is represented by the function this. So what is the, actually we want to make we want to say the lowest. Let's make it lowest here. So lowest price to the nearest dollar Mr. Jelly can charge in order to not lose the money in the event. So think about it. If your revenue should be higher than and or equal to your cost in order to, it should be equal to, your revenue should be equal to your cost in order to just break even, right? So in order to not lose money, it should be greater than or equal to that thing. So let's set this up. So what is my revenue? My revenue is negative 60t squared plus 225t. This should be what? It says the highest price. So greater than or equal to my cost. Again, look for your highest degree. What's my highest degree? This is my highest degree. So it's a quadratic. So how do I solve quadratics? By setting them equal to 0. So I'm going to move this all onto one side. Negative 15t minus 180, and change my inequality also to equal sign. So it's that. That's what we're going to do. So I'm just going to quickly simplify this. This would be negative 60t squared plus 210t minus 180 equal to 0, because it's easier for us to solve equations than inequalities. So now again, it's a quadratic. First rule is always to look for GCF. My GCF is negative 30 I'm going to factor it. So what am I left with? 2t squared minus 7t plus 6 equal to 0. I can divide by negative 30 because 30 is by itself. Now I want to factor this. My leading coefficient is not 1. So I'm going to what? Split my middle term into my two factors. So give me two numbers that multiply to 2 times 6 is 12. So that would be, I'm going to split the middle term. They are negative 4 and negative 3. So 2t squared minus 4t minus 3t. Doesn't matter what you place them in. You can put them in any order. I can write the negative 3t first and negative 4t after. Does not matter. But just be careful about your signs. So then factor by grouping. I have 2t common and I'm left with t minus 2. Bring down the minus sign, 3. I should be left with t minus 2. So now again, do the GCF one more time. I have t minus 2 common in both of them, and I'm left with 2t minus 3. T chart, and t minus 2 equals to 0, so t is equal to 2. 2t minus 3 equals 0, add 3, I get 2t equals 3, so t is equal to 3 halves. So what is my question? Going back to the question, 3 halves is same thing as $1.50. Right, 1.5, since we're dealing with money here because we're talking about the ticket prices, so it's going to be $1.50. So it said, what is the lowest price to the nearest dollar? So if I rounded, whether the lowest is 150, right? So between the two, 150 is the lowest. If I round it to the nearest dollar, it will be $2. So what's the lowest price, so that in order to charge so he does not lose money, is $2. Okay, so I want you to try the remaining questions. There are, I think, 3 questions, example 3, 4, and 5, and the closure. And if you have any questions, please ask your teachers. Also refer back to your previous lessons so that if you need any help or you're stuck on any formulas, it'll be good. I just want to quickly get you started on example 4. It's saying a question is given to you. It's about a water fountain. It's talking about the highest point. Remember, your highest point is your maximum. So maximum has to do with your vertex, right? So be a y coordinate of the vertex. So that's what you're going to be finding. So go back and look at lesson 1 for this if you've forgotten the formula, because this is the formulas for this question we did in lesson 1. I hope you'll able to do all of this. Good luck.